I had a lot of different jobs. At one time, I was a corporate curator. I worked for Ashland Oil, and I was in charge of their corporate art collection, and I bought lots of interesting art. And and then I worked as a consultant for a couple of other corporations. And then I went back to graduate school and got a degree in journalism and public relations. And somehow that ended up at the University of Delaware. And I was the director eventually of online education, distance education at the University of Delaware. So I didn't have anything to do with art during my University of Delaware time. And so, people who knew me then are just so surprised when they run across my art in a gallery or they see my website and they say, who knew? I found I couldn't work full-time and paint part-time. It was just it was very irritating because you'd really get into your artwork and then you'd have to stop and go back to work. So I did very little painting while I was working full-time. But I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I was able to take early retirement, and we built these studios. And I said, I'm going to do it. This is it. And if I don't have a certain amount of success after 5 years, then I'm going to give up and do needlepoint or something. I didn't know for many, many years. But I found that I was kind of painting myself in a corner. Things just were not happening. And I was very dissatisfied with the work that I was doing. And I had never worked with pastels before. Never. But my mother had left me her pastels. She had worked with pastels. And I took like a 3-minute class in pastels, and I dragged her pastels out in some old paper that I'd had from graduate school when I got a graduate degree in art. And I tried it, and it clicked. And I said, whoa. And I said, well, this must be a sign. So after that, I never looked back. I rarely pick up a brush. I loved doing pastels. And it's probably the first medium that I ever worked with when I would go to bed and I would think about what I was going to do the next day. What color I was going to use. And it was just like a light bulb going. It was the eureka moment, So I was not going to paint barns because I figured, well, they've been done. And I took a workshop early on, and we ended up at someone's farm, and I just got seduced by this barn. And so I painted it was just a barn profile. It was very graphic, which is the thing that appealed to me. And it was kind of silhouetted, and it was just nothing fancy. It was just an old working barn. But it really seduced me, and I painted it, and it was successful. And I said, well, maybe I do have something to say about this subject matter that is a little different from what everybody else is doing. And then I started looking for barns, and I found that it's the graphic quality. It's the abstract, the forms, the strong structures, and there's always something to find in a barn. To me, they're very mysterious. To the farmer, it's just like going to the office, but to the civilian, you look into this dark opening and you think, what's going on in that space? And then I discovered that I was doing paintings where the barn had an opening. So I had a landscape inside a landscape. I didn't realize this when I did the first one, and then I did another one, and I was just reviewing the work that I had done for a couple of months, and I saw that there was this theme of this framework of a dark opening and then the landscape within it. And so now I look for that. So that's one of the things that I'm working on now is the looking through series. When I do getting ready for an exhibition, I do a whole series of value studies, and which are these black and white sketches that establish the composition and the format. And I might do 10 of them, and it's like doodling in a way. You don't have a lot of time invested in them. It might take 5 or 10 minutes for each value study. And then I put them all out, and I say, I like, number 3, and number 6, and 7, and number 9. And I'll take those and I'll work them up into smaller paintings. But each one kind of gives you an idea for the next one, and the next one, and the next.